I want to ask you something, and I want you to sit with it for a moment before you answer. Are you busy, or are you actually moving? Because those two things can feel almost identical from the inside, and they produce completely different results. I know what it looks like to be busy. The notebooks, the planning, the research, the courses you're taking, the podcasts, the journaling prompts, even the aesthetic workspace that you've set up so that everything feels just right before you begin. And I'm not making fun of any of that. I did it all for years. And if someone had asked me whether I was working towards my dream, I would have said yes, absolutely, every day. But nothing was coming out. I was in the cave, working hard, putting in the hours, and the door to the cave stayed shut. Because what I was doing, and I say this with so much compassion for the person that I was then, was busy work. And busy work is one of the most convincing forms of hiding there is. It feels productive. It looks productive. It lets you tell yourself the story that you're getting there. But if nothing is coming out into the world, the question worth asking is, what is all this busy work actually protecting you from? Here's the distinction I want to draw for you. Busy work keeps you in preparation mode. You're always getting ready to begin, always almost there, always one more thing away from being ready to share your work, launch the thing, put yourself out there. Moving forward means things are actually leaving your hands and entering the world. A post published, a video filmed, a piece of art shared, a first draft finished and sent, a conversation had, a door knocked on, an email sent. The gap between those two things is not a skills gap. It's not even a knowledge gap. It's not a time gap, even though that is a story we often tell ourselves. It's an emotional gap. Because the reason most creatives stay hidden and stay in the busy work, it isn't lack of discipline. It's that moment something actually goes out. The moment it leaves the safety of your private world and enters the real one, you become visible. Invisibility feels dangerous. When your nervous system has learned that being seen isn't safe, your mind does something very clever. It keeps you moving just enough that you don't feel stuck, but never quite far enough that you actually arrive. That's the trap of busy work. It's not procrastination in the way we usually talk about it. It's a protection strategy. And like all protection strategies, it made sense once. It kept you safe, but at some point it stopped serving you and it started costing you. I look back on certain seasons of my life and I can see it so clearly now. I was producing, I was learning, I was developing, I was in my own way preparing something real. And I don't want to dismiss any of that, because the work I was doing in private laid the foundation for everything I'm doing now. But I wasn't letting anything out. And there's a specific feeling that comes with that, a low-level frustration that you can't quite name, and the sense that the years are passing, that something in you wants to go, but it keeps getting held back. It's like having a giant rubber band attached to your back, and if you get too close to actually stepping out, to sharing, then suddenly it whips you back to safety. You know you're capable of more than the world is seeing, but somehow the world keeps not seeing it. If that's familiar to you, I want you to know that feeling is not a character flaw, it's information. It's your gifts pressing against the door. The question isn't whether you're working hard enough. I'd be willing to bet that you are. The question is, what is the busy work protecting you from feeling? Because underneath the planning and the preparing and the endless refining, there's usually an emotion that hasn't been processed yet. a fear, a belief, something that says, if I put this out and it's not well received, that means something terrible about me. And until that gets looked at, really looked at, not just thought about, but felt and processed and then released, the door to the cave stays shut. Not because you're weak, but because that's how we're wired. The nervous system protects us the only way it knows how. When you start to tell the difference between the busy work and real movement, something shifts. You stop being fooled by the feeling of productivity. You start asking harder questions. Not, am I working, but is this moving the needle? Not, am I preparing, but what am I actually preparing for? And when does it begin? As you do the inner work, as you start to process the emotions underneath the busyness, taking those thoughts captive and installing new thoughts that you can agree with, you'll find that the need for busy work starts to loosen. The protection strategy starts losing its grip. You're building what I call internal safety. And from that real place, real movement becomes possible. Not force, not white-knuckled, but possible. So here's your invitation this week. Look at your life and ask yourself honestly, what is actually moving the needle? And what is keeping me comfortable whilst I wait? You don't have to overhaul everything. Just get honest with yourself about one thing that might be busy work dressed up as progress. And if you're not sure where to start, there's a free roadmap below. Download it and it will help you with your next step. You are not lazy. You are not undisciplined. And you're not broken. You are someone with real gifts, doing the best you can to find a way to bring them out into the light. The door may be closer than you think. The fact that you're here speaks volumes. Sometimes all it takes is one honest question and the courage to sit with the answer. Until next time, you're closer than you think.